Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot Connection with the Weekly Comic Book Roundup. We've got a decently sized haul. I think we actually managed to get all of the books that were delayed from last week, and at least most of the ones for this week. So let's get started, shall we? Kicking things off, we've got Knights of X #1. Knights of X is kind of continuing where Excalibur left off. I want to say at the end of last year, beginning of this year. But Merlin has taken over Otherworld and is trying to hunt down any mutants that might be residing there. Saturnine has what was Excalibur basically working with her. The Captain Britain Corps still under her command, and is trying to retake her throne with the help of the Captain Britain Corps. So we begin in Avalon, where a young mutant by the name of Joshua Shepard, aka the Jersey Devil, is currently living, and they're being assaulted by they're under attack by by Merlin's Furies, which basically which anymore bear quite the resemblance to Sentinels of the normal world. But Jersey Devil is rescued by Captain Britain, brought to the floating kingdom of Roma. However, it's not the Captain Britain that Jersey Devil knows. It's another member of the Corps. And they're doing what they can to find any mutants in trouble. Meanwhile, Saturnine is not happy being on the run and expresses her displeasure at this to Betsy, with Betsy explaining that she's not going to abandon any mutant to Merlin's forces. And suggesting that since maybe Saturday should find a way to reclaim her position. But Betsy goes to talk to Roma, and as she needs an army. But Roma doesn't have an army to give. However, for some help, perhaps a quest is required. And so, on Krakoa, Richter, Shatterstar, Bay the Blood Moon, Gambit, Rachel are all summoned, and as is apparently Megan, but to help Betsy with this quest. First, they try to use resurrection protocols to resurrect Arthur's son Mordred, who it turns out was in fact a mutant. And seeing as how Mordred is most recently dead at the hands of the Black Knights, but the resurrection doesn't seem to work, and Jubilee is waiting at the summoning circle with Shogo, who apparently has been asleep, always, just constantly asleep. Betsy discovers he's dreaming of Otherworld. Jubilee figuring taking Shogo back to Otherworld and maybe Roma can help wake him up. You know, that might do the trick. But our heroes travel to Otherworld. Jubilee, however, does not accompany them. It seems that the Magics did not intend for Jubilee to be there. Rachel gets a new look. It also appears that Merlin is gathering forces as well. But as his forces are tracking down a witch breed, a mutant. One of the mutant is really none other than Kylan, former member of the old Excalibur, the original Excalibur lineup. And Captain Britain and her crew come to his aid. And but another knight has appeared. Also, Kylan and Shatterstar takes a liking to Kylan. It makes sense, they're both warriors. But Betsy, while riding Shogo, manages to take care of some of the Furies, and the new arrival seems to be taking care of Arthur's forces. And it's revealed to be none other than Mordred. A much younger Mordred, offering his sword to the service of Captain Britain when turns out that now that their quest, those on the quest are all brought together, time to show what the point of the quest is: finding the siege perilous. And of course, Merlin is is doing what he can to rally his forces against the mutants because, well, dick. But that is where the issue ends. A strong first issue. Excalibur was not my favorite of the Dawn and Reign of X titles, and mainly, I think largely just because it felt just much like Excalibur from the original Excalibur series did. It felt just disconnected from everything, largely because of the fact that it mostly took place in Otherworld rather than Earth 616. So, but it was still a good read. You know, I still overall I still did enjoy it. Anyway, moving on to our next book, we've got Sabertooth #3. Where we left off, it appeared that the new arrivals in the pit had all been recruited, had been convinced to join Sabertooth. So we open with a quote from Thomas Paine: "A body of men holding themselves accountable to nobody ought not to be trusted by anybody." We go into Melter's history. Apparently, when his powers manifest, he kills his parents. He also killed an old woman. There were mistakes. He doesn't think it entirely matters. They're still dead. But Xavier invited everyone, even mutants who'd done so much worse than him, and Melter wanted to thank him. And that's how it all went wrong. As he explains, he's a kid from suburbia. They don't treat the land as sacred. It's expected to be sculpted. So a better place to practice those powers, far from anyone else. It wasn't until he had done what it was he'd done that he realized he'd done anything. apparently Melter was searching for the meeting place of the Quiet Council, hoping to listen in. But he caused some damage to Krakoa, basically breaking one of the 3 laws. And deep in the pit, the inmates escaped from what's referred to as Krakoa State Penitentiary, with Sabertooth telling them the story of the escape from Alcatraz. And he also explains that there was a point when he was alone, he dreamed of having adventures in outer space, imagined himself far from the pit, and something strange happened. He found himself on the surface of Krakoa. Planets took on the shape of his body. He was seen by others. Adding that if he hadn't been so surprised, he might have spoken with them. So he's thinking that they'll try that again, but this time they're all in the boat, all making escape, so maybe they all manifest up there. If it works, they've got a few people. There's a few people that Sabertooth wants them to find, old teammates. Adding that folks like these are addicted to the chaos. They've got to be bored with paradise by now. And so, at Nanny's Cove, Oya and Necra pop up. Their goal is to find Scrambler. Instead, however, they find Bling. In fact, Bling's been looking for the bodies, for Necra and Oya's bodies. Can't be resurrected without proof of death. So Oya explained that the 2 of them were tried and sentenced in a secret court. Third Eye appears to Mole. And apparently Mole's been trying to get the word out about Third Eye and the other prisoners. It's tough to keep secrets when the head honcho can read minds, though. But Mole found a workaround. Don't talk to anyone who mattered. Though Third Eye states that he thought all mutants mattered on Krakoa, though Mole explains that all mutants are equal, but some mutants are more equal than others. Even there. Mole adds that there's power in being forgotten. Xavier can read any mind, but he overlooks a lot of them. So Mole's been talking to the invisible and the ignored, and there are plenty of those in the world. Also, Third Eye's quest was to find Vertigo of the Marauders. Next, we've got Madison Jeffries, who's been sent to find Prism. But he materializes a cloud of plastics and talks with Skin. Basically, pretty much a case of getting the word out. Melter appears in the seemingly appears in the Quiet Council chamber. And Xavier says, why is it that Melter's one he doesn't trust? Because he's not actually there. He's still in the pit. He's not at the Quiet Council's meeting place. He's at the Feral Council's meeting place. And Sabertooth impales him, and the Feral Council discusses things. And the Beast aspect is has his plan looked at and explained that Scramble and Vertigo have been fine teammates in the past, but neither one ever goes the distance. And Prism breaks easier than a cheap wine glass. But it's explained that that wasn't the plan. The plan, Sabertooth's plan, the one he didn't share, was get the word out. And we see Skin talking to Blob at the Green Lagoon, Bling talking to Shark Girl and Marrow, and Mole talking to various others underground. But the way it's basically explained is you can take down a nation and never fire a gun. But Third Eye's noticed that they can move while in the pit. Not much, he doesn't know how conscious it is. That's explained that apparently Necro and Oya have found one another, comrades, sisters. It seems that their touch calms each other. Melter's trying to connect too. Seemingly trying to reach out to Sabertooth. With Third Eye thinking that, he's trying to, he's done for a leader, a role to play, which can be dangerous. And yeah, he is reaching out for Sabertooth. But not to connect, but rather to be able to use his powers on Sabertooth. Which he does, melting Sabertooth as the issue ends. This book, the Sabertooth series is definitely getting interesting. I think this will probably be the first time I ever actually get all the way through a Sabertooth miniseries. I've got the first issue of the Sabertooth mini from the 90s. I never got the rest just because of bad timing, but yeah. And there have been, I think, some other minis here and there, but yeah. Anyway, moving on to our next book, we've got Alien, number 11. Where we left off, the survivors of the Spinner Colony ended up looking for additional survivors, ended up in a cave, which is where the apparently the xenomorph nest is. But they fight their way out, and they're not sure if they rescued the girl they were going in after, Sophie. Well, as far as they're concerned, they did. They did get someone out with them, so. But they make their way through and eventually make it to Gamma Station. When a batch of xenomorphs pop up and Jane does what she can to stop them. Arrows, I don't imagine traditional arrows doing much good against the xenomorph. I mean, yeah, more of an annoyance than anything. But then the remaining ones are shot down, and Gregory, who's in charge of Gamma Station, arrives. Gamma Station is apparently abandoned. And Gregory explains that the second ship landed not after the first with some colonial troops, so they were lucky. They lost some people, but the soldiers saved them from the worst, and by Mother's grace they'll rebuild. But the question is brought up if most of the colonists of Gamma Station made it. Where is everybody? Gregory makes some comments about Ambrose, which leads Jane to cutting his arm, adding that. And Jane explains to him that, there was a passage from their book, their Bible. Ambrose always said it in an odd way. Jane noted that it was it's not written that way in the Book of Stephen. It was a copyist mistake in the very first printing. Gregory says it the exact same way. Knowing that Ambrose was a Weyland-Yutani synthetic, she imagined that the company must have uploaded all their spinner files in Ambrose's head before the mistake got fixed. And so she asked Gregory to show her his arm, and she shoots. So instead, yes, Gregory is in fact a synthetic, and he shoots one of Jane's followers and brings them all underground to the nest where everyone from Gamma Station is. And Jane swears revenge as seemingly all the survivors she brought to Gamma Station are all attacked by facehuggers. And that is where the issue ends. As I said, I do enjoy the fact that in many ways Alien Ongoing is kind of continuing how Dark Horse did their, not the stories Dark Horse told, but the format, where with the Dark Horse Aliens stories, it was mostly just a bunch of miniseries. But for example, the Earth War story, that ends up covering like 4 miniseries, but they're all when one ends, it goes right into the next one. And I kind of like that that the Alien Ongoing from Marvel's kind of doing the same thing in its own way, but the stories aren't directly. The first 2 arcs, for example, aren't directly connected. But anyway, moving on to our next book, we've got Magic the Gathering: The Hidden Planeswalker, #1. Let's just take a moment to appreciate that Soren Markov cover. I mean, it's a bit odd that Soren's on the cover. He's not in the issue at all, but So, The Hidden Planeswalker is a miniseries, is Magic the Gathering miniseries focusing on Liliana Vess. Or at least the first issue focuses on her. There was some setup, some groundwork laid in the Tezzeret one-shot, Master of Metal. But a lot of the first issue kind of goes into her history, as well as going over her, showing her teaching at Strixhaven. She is the associate professor of necromancy, and one of the students is a bit of a jerk, and so she makes it clear that while he might not think she's much in the real world, she's seen some shit. But it covers a lot of the events of Liliana's life, such as the demonic deals she made for eternal life, the death of her brother, being duped into working with Nicol Bolas, and that she was willing to sacrifice herself to stop Bolas, but instead, Planeswalker Gideon Jura, did so. After class, she's visited by Ral and Kaya, who Liliana states Kaya is about as much fun as actual ghosts. But this leads up to her getting involved in the previous story arc and the ongoing. She talks about Merit Lodge and that an army of the undead is needed. But she remembers that Tezzeret was looking for a book on Merit, was looking for information on Merit Lodge and Master of Metal. But without question, though, Liliana's in. Hours later on Amonkhet, her, Jace, Vraska, Ral, and Kaya basically created an army of the dead to worship Merit Lodge. But during that, there was a moment where Liliana became connected to Merit Lodge. They win, however, but at the cost of Jace. And her mind wanders to Tezzeret and where he was. Turns out, however, he is right there waiting for her, and he uses a Dimir contraption to bind her, and then in an attempt to steal a memory of hers, namely the memory of dealing with of her connection to Merit Lodge. But Liliana is able to escape, as it's explained that young mages make poor masters, so dead pests are common at Strixhaven. Luckily, she's an excellent master to the dead ones. This allows Liliana to escape, and soon Tezzeret escapes as well. But she gives one of her students, Dina, the Dimir contraption, or she doesn't give it to, but she's going to find out just what it was that Tezzeret was looking for, and that is where the issue ends. I do appreciate greatly that Boom is branching out with Magic, doing more than just the ongoing and the occasional one shot. Kind of hoping maybe we might get to see some tales relating to some of the more to other Planeswalkers as well. There are quite a few that have never really had the spotlight that I feel at least a one shot would be good for. Anyway, moving on to our last book for the moment, we've got Something is Killing the Children, number 22. Where we left off, Erica was in New Mexico investigating a string of murders that were committed by a monster. The one witness to the most recent states that what she saw, the things she saw looked almost human, though not. However, she's not been told. Erica hasn't been told this. Rather, some locals have. That said, we begin. I want to say in England at the site of a massacre of both people and monsters. The one who's committed said massacre is told by her familiar that they're not alone. Apparently, though, it was a ritual. But she's a member of the House of Cutter. And she's informed that the House would prefer that this particular hunter make her way to America. The dragon of the House of Cutter has word from the dragon of the House of Slaughter that the House of Slaughter has a rogue agent, a young woman, black mask, Erica. and she's to eliminate Erica. But in New Mexico, Erica's talking to the young girl. The young girl doesn't trust her. She starts to, but yeah, no. The sheriff passes. The sheriff is lamenting maybe he should have moved to Santa Fe after all. What a deal with this. But apparently there have been 8 calls to state police and nothing. With the sheriff thinking it's some kind of serial killer. But the girl's taken to a family friend's home. Family friend living right next door, so. And the girl sees Erica sneaking into the scene. And the cop there who's supposed to be investigating is informed and is sent in when Erica realizes that it was a doppelganger that did this. Just before she's arrested. And that is where the issue ends. I've been loving Something That's Killing the Children. I really have been. My only complaint, I would say, with this right now is the fact that it really feels like every story just could have a formula. Erica goes to a town where a monster just killed some people. She encounters a child survivor, fights the monster, and ends up destroying it, quite possibly with the aid of the child in question. Then it probably will have here's what's going, a kind of broader world story where the whole thing with the one from the House of Cutter being sent after Erica. But yeah, to be fair though, while I'm not the biggest fan of following a formula for story arcs, as long as if it's well told, I'm still kind of in. But anyway, that's going to do it for now. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying live long and rock hard.